Welcome back, students. Now this is just to show the cervix. It is in continuation with that of the previous video where I have shown you the uterine cavity in a specimen. This is the mid-sagittal section, and for orientation this is the symphysis pubis. This is the urinary bladder is here. Behind the urinary bladder, the superior surface, this is the uterus is there, and this portion is the isthmus, that is the joint between, the junction between the body of the uterus and the cervix is called as the isthmus. This portion is that of the cervix. Okay, now this cervix is pointing in this dilated cavity, which is the vaginal cavity is here. Here is the labia minora, and this portion is the labia majora. So this is the vestibular area. Posteriorly, this is the rectum. Now in relation to this mid-sagittal section, I will try to show you the cervix. Now the cervix is a lower part of the uterus. It is about 1/3 part of the uterus below the isthmus, and then it consists of the two parts. A part of the cervix is projecting, see here this part, it is projecting in the vaginal cavity, and this is called as the portio vaginalis, or the part of the cervix lying into the vagina. There is an opening here which opens into the cervical canal. See this narrow slit, this is the cervical canal is there. This is the external os of the cervix, okay, that external opening, and then there inside the cavity here at the isthmus, this is the internal os of the cervix. So this is the cervical canal is there. Okay, now this cervix and the body of the uterus, usually the body of the uterus lies on the superior surface of the urinary bladder, where the posterior surface of the uterus remain in contact with the coils of the intestine. So this position is maintained, that is the anteflexion. Okay, now what is anteflexion and the anteversion? The anteversion is an angle which is lying between the long axis of the cervix and that of the vagina. See, if I put this here, this is the long axis of the cervix and this is the long axis of the vagina is here. So this is the long axis of the vagina and long axis of the cervix. They make almost in this way. Okay, it lies in this fashion when the bladder is empty. So the long axis of cervix and long axis of vagina, they will form an angle anteriorly, and this angle is called as the anteversion, and it is about 90 degrees. So remember that you have to explain to your examiner that there should be a long axis of the cervical canal and the long axis of the vagina, and that makes an angle 90 and it is facing anteriorly. Then he may ask, what is the anteflexion? The anteflexion is an angle between the cervical canal, the long axis of the cervix, and that of the long axis of the uterus, okay, or uterine cavity. So a long axis from the uterine uterus and long axis of cervix will also open anteriorly, but this angle is much more than 90 and it is about 170. So this is called as anteflexion, which is the angle between the cervix and the uterus, while the anteversion is an angle between the vagina and that of the cervix, which is around 90 degree. Okay, it is around 90 degree. Now we have already seen that this narrow part between the body and that of the cervix is called as the isthmus part. Okay, isthmus. This is the external os and internal os is inside. Now thus this part of the vagina, which is the portio vaginalis, this will be in relation to that of the pouch of the Douglas. Okay, it will be, let me show you the pouch of the Douglas here. That is the reflection of the peritoneum in relation to that of the posterior surface of the uterus, and then it will be reflecting onto the vagina, this portion. See this is the posterior fornix of vagina, and this is the peritoneum reflecting onto the part of the posterior aspect of the vagina. This is called as the pouch of the Douglas, recto-uterine pouch, or the pouch of the Douglas, and it is also covering the fornix of the posterior fornix of the vagina. Similarly, the reflection of the peritoneum from the superior surface of the urinary bladder, I said that this was urinary bladder, and then it comes in front of the cervix and the anterior surface of the uterus. This is called as the uterovesical pouch. Okay, these are the relations of the peritoneum in relation to this. Okay, that I can show you here also, which is little abnormal, because here this is this should be the normal position. See this is the uterine cavity is here, uterus is here, thick muscular wall, and this partly shown is cervix. This is the vagina. So this is the relation of the anterior surface of the body of the uterus to that of the superior surface of the urinary bladder, and then cervix lies here. So this is the rectum is here, so the pouch of Douglas is here, and the uterovesical pouch is here. Okay, so this may be the question which can be asked, okay, by the examiner in relation to the cervix and the body of the uterus in relation to the pouches, anteversion and anteflexion. Okay, anteflexion. Thank you very much for watching this video on the uterus and cervix in the mid-sagittal section.